music starting, that means we're actually good to go. So. Welcome everyone to the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. Joining me today is another Joe from Franklin County Department of Health, Joe Mazzola. How are you doing today, Joe?
I'm well, Mayor. How are you?
Not too bad. I think what we could do is we could have an interesting little game to see how many times we can say Joe all the way across. I'm not sure those of you that are out there, if you hear a little clicking sound, not sure where that's coming from, but we'll just call it up technical difficulties for right now. Got a couple of quick things to start off with before we get too in-depth into the COVID and the vaccine topics. First off, we're going to have our first town hall meeting for code enforcement. We're going to do that on March 11th at 7 p.m. Basically, this is going to be something that we wanted to do at the fall of last year. It just didn't work out, but we're going to have kind of a town hall meeting where we're going to talk about what things code enforcement may be looking at coming up in this spring and summer this year. We made some great strides in the city last year. Working with businesses and residents, but just kind of giving everybody a heads up to what to look forward to. And with that, I do want to congratulate two of our code enforcers, William and Sean, for passing the code enforcement test. They passed it and they are now certified with it, which is an amazing thing. It's a good thing to do. So they have all the tools in the pocket for that one. I would also like to congratulate our Parks Director, Donna Bauman, for earning her certificate as Parks and Recreation Professional. So the certificate will be here in 12 weeks. Because apparently the mail is that slow. So hopefully when we get that certificate on, we'll bring Dawn in here and congratulate her for that accomplishment. So there's always good things to start with before we talk about improving things. I won't go good things just yet with COVID, but I'll say improving things. So Joe, we'll just start off. What kind of trends are you seeing now in Franklin County, when it comes to COVID and what direction you think we're going?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again for the invite. It's great to be with you again and to be able to share some information with the city of Reynoldsburg and, of course, all the residents there. So, I think what we're seeing here in Franklin County over the last couple of weeks are some encouraging signs. Certainly, nothing where we are at a point where we are comfortable with where we are, but some encouraging signs. So over the last couple of weeks, we've seen the number of new daily cases that we're seeing in our community start to decline. That's happened over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Still at a pretty high level, though. So right now, Franklin County, we are seeing about 600 new cases per day. 600 cases per 100,000 per capita. So that would be considered 6 times what the CDC defines as high incidence. But when you compare that to where we were just a couple of weeks ago, we were at 700 or 800 per 100,000. So we're seeing some good news there as a health department. So we serve, of course, 14 cities, 17 townships, and 10 villages in Franklin County. So as our health jurisdiction, which basically includes all of Franklin County except for the cities of Worthington and Columbus, we're seeing about 250 new cases per day for our health jurisdiction. And again, as you compare that to maybe just 2 weeks ago, we were closer to 300 or 325. So we're starting to see a little bit of a decline there, a sustained decline as well. So very encouraging, but again, still at a very high level. Hospitalizations, that too has gone down over the last couple of weeks, which we have been very pleased to see. Again, we're still at a pretty high level there, but as you compare this to what we were, in mid-December, where we were seeing a really, really troubling trend in terms of a rise in hospitalizations, that has now since declined as well. So I think those two metrics obviously are two indicators that we, of course, want to see continue. But as you look at the last couple of weeks with those rises in cases and hospitalizations that we saw towards the end of 2020, sadly, we have seen a number of deaths occur in our health jurisdiction and in our county over the last couple of weeks. So, we of course are sad to see that, but we also know that we can see some light at the end of the tunnel here. As we and I know we're going to talk about vaccinations here in a minute, but I think this is a real opportunity for our community to really build on the momentum that we're starting to see in terms of the decline in cases and hospitalizations. And so this is where we continue to ask our residents to really think about how they can continue to follow those mitigation strategies. We have our stay-at-home advisory in place through February 6th, and we want to encourage our residents to stay home as much as possible during this time to continue that momentum that we're starting to see here in our community. So, of course, those essential activities like school and work and so forth, but really just continue to ask our residents to stay home as much as possible. And when you do have to leave, of course, following those other guidelines regarding, using your face covering, watching your distance from others, avoiding those large crowds, and of course, washing your hands as well. So some encouraging news, I guess, Mayor, but certainly definitely have a lot of progress to make.
That's good. I know that we're all looking forward to a time gatherings. So when it comes to the vaccine, what kind of news can you share about the vaccine specific to Franklin County? I know you're working right now specifically with different age groups and things like that. So what kind of direction are we going for that?
Yeah, so this is where we start to really be excited about kind of where we are as a community. So vaccination efforts in Franklin County are going very well. So of course, Franklin County Public Health is we're vaccinating our residents, and I'll speak to that in a minute. But more broadly, I want to make sure that your residents know kind of where we are as an entire community. So as you know, the state of Ohio has approved organizations to become pandemic providers of the vaccination. So here in Franklin County, that means our hospital partners, our primary care offices, our pharmacy partners, our community health centers, and of course our health departments are all part of that. So the state has been making vaccine available to those pandemic providers, first working through that 1A population group. And so that 1A group was really healthcare providers and those who may come into contact with those who may be positive for COVID-19. That really started with our hospital partners vaccinating their staff, and then Franklin County Public Health and Columbus Public Health vaccinating others who fall in that 1A category. So we started, of course, vaccinating our fire and EMS personnel across our health departments and other staff who work in organizations and settings in terms of that healthcare engagement that fall out of the hospital setting. So we've been very busy vaccinating 1A. Now that we've moved to 1B, this is where we really can, I think, pick up some significant momentum. So with 1B, the state has identified individuals who are first 80 and older. That started last week, but really has started making the vaccine available to all of those pandemic providers that I just spoke about. So so those who are 80 and older last week were able to start getting vaccinated, not only at the health department and with our hospitals, but also at the other pandemic providers that the state has approved. So particularly our pharmacy partners as well. So 80 and older was last week, 75 and older was this week, and next week we'll go to 70 and older, and then after that, 65 and older. So with that, that's kind of our main focus right now, is transitioning from that 1A group to the 1B population group. With that, we have also been working with all of our school districts to ensure that our school staff can start getting vaccinated beginning next week as well. And I want to say thank you to all of our school districts, including Reynoldsburg City Schools, for all of their help and coordination there, working to make sure that we have a provider for them to start getting vaccinated. And in particular, I want to thank the state of Ohio and Kroger Pharmacy, who's going to be doing a lot of the vaccination for our staff, our school staff around the county as well. So I think, there's a lot of encouraging news there. I think the limitation, of course, as I'm sure you know, is the lack of vaccine. Vaccine is still at a premium here and very limited. So, we are making sure that as more vaccine becomes available, we're having conversations about how we're going to expand our capacity to vaccinate as many people as possible. And so that includes having conversations with our fire and EMS departments, as well as other providers, to see how we can continue to expand our vaccination capacity here in Franklin County as vaccine becomes more available to our community. So right now, Franklin County Public Health, we have given the first dose to 8,000 people through that first 1A and 1B group. So our clinic has been full, since the end of December. We're vaccinating about 600 people per day at our clinic, but we do know that that's just one part of the overall puzzle. And the other providers are vaccinating as quickly as they can as well. So would encourage definitely your residents to go to our website for more information about the vaccine program and the state's guidelines. But really would say that if you feel like you do meet that eligibility group, for example, if you're over 75 or 70 beginning next week, reach out to your healthcare provider to see if they can get you in to get your vaccine. Reach out to a pharmacy, and then if not, certainly reach out to the health department.
Okay. So I've got to ask, we have a great senior center. I know I have a pretty big following of members of the senior center watching right now, and unfortunately we have not been able to open it for obvious reasons. Is there a possibility, again, sometime in the future of potentially using that facility or some smaller local facilities for vaccine distribution?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, we've been sort of thinking about that a little bit. So the big question that we have now in terms of setting up those community-based, what we call pods, is that we don't have the vaccine really to do that. And with the state really having a more decentralized approach, as I talked about with the pandemic providers, right now having a kind of a larger community-based clinic isn't something that we could explore at this time. But certainly, I think as things change and evolve, again, we want to put a plan in place that makes sure that we are ensuring that every resident has an opportunity to get their vaccine just as quickly as they are able to, and as far as their eligibility is concerned. So wouldn't rule it out, but I think at this point, we don't have enough information, certainly not enough vaccine to set up those individual type clinics. Now, however, we are kind of thinking again long term. And certainly, if there's a conversation that we can have with the city of Reynoldsburg, we'd love to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I know that, like I said, I know there's a lot of interest with it as well. So I do appreciate it. And we'll make sure that we get the information up for people who are interested in the vaccine. We'll make sure that we'll distribute that through our social media and our webpage and things of that nature as well. I can't imagine we have any questions whatsoever right now, do we? Not yet. All right. So we don't actually have any questions. I do appreciate it. I'm happy that we have the opportunity to talk with you so we can get the most accurate information out there. I know that Reynoldsburg City Schools is going to be having their facility for teachers to get their shots starting next week at our Livingston campus field house, which will be great. And just again, building that partnership to get that vaccine out as quick as we can would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so maybe I'll just kind of talk to you a little bit more. Again, as your residents who are meeting that criteria, I think it's really critically important that that they reach out to their healthcare provider to see if their healthcare provider can vaccinate them. We know that having that trusted relationship and that that primary care is really a great source of an opportunity for them to get vaccinated. And we, of course, at the health department, we want to serve in terms of kind of that safety net as well. So though vaccine is limited, we want to make sure that we're encouraging our residents to look for those opportunities, particularly for those with those organizations that they have that relationship with. And so there's a list of all of those vaccine providers on our website. And so we can certainly, again, make that available. And if there are any questions, definitely reach out. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see more vaccine become available here to our county, to our state. And we want to, again, make sure that we're getting that vaccine administered just as quickly as possible. And right now, every dose that we have and every dose that's being allocated within our county, I know is being administered within about 72 hours. So we're working as quickly as we can, and we want to make sure we take care of as many individuals as possible. So any opportunity to kind of get that information out to your community and to the residents of Reynoldsburg, we want to do that. So certainly, if there's something that we can do to help assist with that, please let me know.
Absolutely. Well, many thanks to you, to members of your team, to all the healthcare providers, everybody giving the shots out there. It is a daunting task to try and inoculate, a couple 100 million people in a very short period of time. So we do appreciate everything. I think we might have a question. We do have one question.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a resident 20 says, after the 65 age group, do we move to 60 and above? So I don't know if maybe you can address some of the age groups that you will follow.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if I heard it correctly, do we expect the state to open it up to individuals who are younger than 65?
Yes. Like, what's the next after the 65-year group, and what's the next potential group thereafter?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we're all kind of wondering what's next in terms of the state's tiering priority groups. So right now we don't know when the state may make those announcements. I can say that as we look at approaching the month of February, obviously working through the existing priorities within 1B, those 65 and older, and of course all of our teachers and staff at schools. Based on what we expect in terms of the vaccine, the amount of vaccine that we expect to receive, I think it's probably unlikely to kind of get more, to expand that out. But so until we get assurance that there will be more vaccine, my guess is that we're probably going to continue to focus in on that 1B group as defined right now. That's just me kind of giving you my perspective on things. I certainly hope that we'll be able to expand it as soon as possible. I know we've heard from a lot of residents who are asking questions, when can I get the vaccine? So I know that we have a lot of people who are ready to get their vaccination. So I think it's just a matter of once more vaccine becomes available, that the state will make those decisions. And I also want to just say that, for those who are still thinking about it, who maybe have some more questions about, whether it's a safety concern or just questions about the vaccine. We have a lot of information on our website about that, and links to the state of Ohio's website and to the CDC. Really would encourage, again, residents to take the time to really learn about the vaccine itself, and make sure that they're making that informed decision. I can say, that the evidence is very clear that this is a safe and effective vaccine, both the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine, and so really would encourage folks to strongly consider getting vaccinated if they haven't decided to do that already. But there's a lot of information out there that I think will answer the questions that anyone may still have.
We have one other question. Go ahead.
Yeah, what is different about Reynoldsburg that is causing the high COVID numbers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, as we have over the last, 10, 11 months now, we have seen certainly the Reynoldsburg area has been one of the higher incidence areas within our health jurisdiction. Quite candidly, I don't know if we know why, but it has been, something that we certainly have tried to focus our communication efforts on, as we have seen the higher incidence within that part of our community. So I couldn't give you an answer right now, other than, it could be, that, there's just, could be chance. It could be a lot of things. As we kind of do our contact tracing and case investigation, nothing has stood out that's specific in terms of the trends there. And so, we continue to make sure that when we have seen those higher incidence of cases, that we're trying to focus our communication efforts there, build out some more messaging. And so just kind of want to make sure that we continue to ask our residents to take those extra precautions. We know that we've seen a little bit higher transmission within that part of our county. And we just continue to ask our residents to take all those necessary precautions. And we're going to continue to do everything we can to make sure that we get those messages out.
I appreciate it. I don't think we have any other questions for you today. Again, everyone, Joe Mazzola from Franklin County Department of Health. We'll see him back eventually, I'm sure, and maybe even a testing site out here or a vaccination site out here sometime in the future. So thanks again, Joe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for letting me be with you today. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
All right, for everybody else who's remaining on, we do have a couple of other things, starting off with some information from our Parks and Recreation Department. We have our military banner program that is going to be up and running. So if you have a family member or a community member that you would think that you would like to recognize for the military banner program that will be placed on Main Street, please go ahead and check out our website. You can get all that information there. We are also in the process of working with our spring soccer, baseball, and softball programs. Yes, we're on tap to have these spring sports. So if you are interested in that, please check out. I know the registration deadlines are coming up in the not too distant future, but if you want your kids to get out of your house on the weekends, please make sure you keep that up as some good outdoor sports there with soccer, baseball, and softball. I know basketball games started last night. I know my kid's playing tonight in one of the games, so I know everybody's really excited about that. Again, mostly to get the kids out of the house. So we do have some good news. The Tomato Festival, we have confirmed all of our music acts. We're not going to tell you who they are, but that moment of truth will come eventually. It'll bring fans from everywhere, including states like Tennessee. So lots of different things that are up there. For everybody to kind of enjoy, it's kind of a little festival, a little Margaritaville, as it were. So got a lot of things coming up for that one. So keep your eyes out for those big post announcements for that. My water hint of the week is actually a little bit different than just specific water. It's actually now is a really good time to check your sump pumps. If you have your sump pump at home, make sure that it's still working. Make sure that if there's a battery backup, that's taken care of. And something you might want to consider is actually what they call a sump pump backflow valve. This would actually help prevent some of the flooding. So if there is some heavy rains in the spring and things like that, the water may come back up in through your pipe systems. The backflow valve would actually be helpful to prevent things from water getting into your basement from the storm water and things like that. If you want, usually those valves are about $15 to $30 for the do-it-yourself crowd, or if you have no skill in that manner whatsoever, like myself, please contact a professional and do it before you actually start, because it's just harder for them to pick things up. So kind of keep that up there. Next week, we will be welcoming Reynoldsburg City School Board member Jenny Quesenberry. So she'll be joining us. She's also a retired administrator from the city of Columbus. So I'm sure she'll have some interesting views on what it's like to be an administrator during this time as well. So we're looking forward to her joining us. And now we have some good news about some development. So we're going to start off with good stuff. On Monday night, City Council, got the first crack at approving the annexation of some land out by the Department of Agriculture on Main Street. And so I'm going to show you some pretty pictures of what it will look like here in just a second, as soon as I can figure out how to get my screen to share. So take a look, and this is what it's going to be. Let me see if I can get it all up there. So this is actually going to be the entryway into off Main Street. So you're going to have a lot of office park businesses, some commercial restaurants and retail, some office space that's going to look very similar to the architecture all the way across the street on the Department of Agriculture side. We're continuously working to bring businesses into the city of Reynoldsburg. It's also going to be a housing development that hits a lot of different areas. Some of it is going to be apartments. Some of it is going to be ranch townhomes and some condominiums, and what you're seeing right there, some townhomes. It will have a community center that will have a little bit of a pool that will be open up, and a play area for those out in that area. It's all going to be connected by some park trails and boulevard styles and things like that, like you can see in this particular drawing right here. But again, it's going to hit a lot of different types of living arrangements all the way throughout, from many different economic groups all the way across, including some of these smaller cottage style homes that have the ability to, maybe you want to have a pool in there, or maybe if you're more of an outdoor barbecue type of fire pit type of environment that you see right there. So those are a couple of things that are going to be coming up into the Eastwood area, which is what we're calling it. And that will probably be more driven, I would say, probably by late summer, early fall, with some of that information there. So those are some cool things that are coming up into the city of Reynoldsburg. Those are going to be all located in Southwest Licking County schools. So it's not going to impact necessarily the Reynoldsburg City School District, but again, it is something that is there, and it will help bring in some great jobs and some open opportunities out into the Eastwood area. The other thing that came up on Monday are just social media can be really, really good. And I did mention this at council on Monday. Social media is a great way for us to get information out. It's relatively quick. People can find out what's going on with development. People can find out what's going on just in the general community. But sometimes people get the information wrong, or they hear something, or maybe they didn't read something the right way, or something along those lines. So if you really do have questions about what's coming to the city of Reynoldsburg, or what's zoned this, or I heard a rumor that, or something along those lines, please feel free and give me a call. Give me a call, shoot me an email, ask a question here on the, the 12 o'clock show, and we'll be more than happy to answer everything for you. Now, there's certain things that we're not going to be able to say if nothing's guaranteed yet, if it's nothing signed in pen, but we're always working on some stuff. So it's a great opportunity for you to find out the information. That's why this year, anything development related that's going to come to the city of Reynoldsburg is going to be announced here first on the show. And then that way you can take a look at it and get the actual story of everything, as opposed to maybe somebody misunderstood. With that, I really suggest you tune in to the next 2 weeks. I would say next week you might want to pay attention, and especially February 10th. Yeah, just trust me on this one. With that, we also have the State of the City that we're going to have. It is going to be February 25th. It'll be at 7 p.m. It will be, I'll probably be broadcasting from council chambers, but I don't think we're going to be able to do it with a crowd yet. But I do invite you, if you want to see a little bit more about kind of a review of where we've been, and most importantly, where we're going to go over the next couple of years, I do highly recommend you join us on February 25th at 7 o'clock. We'll have an event out on Facebook to remind you and things like that to again get a really good idea of what's coming up. Also wanted to mention today that today is National Holocaust Remembrance Day. So at some point in time today, I always take a moment to remember those that lost their lives in the Holocaust. It's one of those things that every year I taught it, every year we had discussions about it. And you always, the phrase never forget really does mean something, especially in this day and age when we're kind of a short attention span society where we kind of tend to forget certain things. So please keep that in your mind today. Any questions so far from anyone?
We have a couple.
Okay.
One, does the city have a list of sub pump contractors in Reynoldsburg?
That's a really good question. I don't believe we do. I know that there are contractors for plumbing contracts and things like that we've had, but I can see if there's anything that we have available to put up on social media today.
And then can you rename the development again? What was the name of it?
The development, it's just the working title. It's called the Eastwood Development. It's located off East Main Street. The area specifically is going to be directly across from the Department of Agriculture that's out there, a little bit past Summit Road.
And then always as Meredith is wanting you to plug the Reynoldsburg Connects and the Reynoldsburg Blessing Boxes.
Well, I would plug it, but apparently somebody already did. Yes. Let's start with the Blessing Boxes. For those of you, again, you're watching on Facebook, Reynoldsburg does have a Blessing Box Facebook page, so please check that out so you can kind of get updates on where they are located at here in the city of Reynoldsburg. And most importantly, if you have the opportunity to donate food into those particular locations, that would be a great thing to do. We do remind you to not have perishable foods there. But please go ahead and do that. Make sure if you want to, you can have any donations. I know there's one right out in front of City Hall that is very frequently packed, which is good. But again, people do come in, especially in this time of needs, to do that. And then always, of course, the Reynoldsburg Connects. We are going to be taking better advantage of that this year. We have our usual big announcements, in the middle of the month. But some of the more frequent things, we're going to try and get that out there a little bit more. If you want to register for Reynoldsburg Connects, please go to our city Facebook or our city website, and then scroll down to the bottom of the page. You'll be able to log in and register, and you can pick what you want to be interested in. A little bit of everything, or if you just want to know about calendar events, or if you just want breaking news. We're not out of the winter season yet, so you never know what's going to be coming along the way, but you want to keep those things in mind as well. Any other questions?
Nope.
All right. Again, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful time. It's the COVID thing, it looks like we're going to be moving beyond it. So again, if you have questions about that, please contact the Franklin County Department of Health. And again, thanks to Joe Mazzola for joining us again. He'll be somebody that's out there, but everybody else, please stay safe, stay respectful, and please put your shopping carts away so that I can actually leave the grocery store before my wife yells at me for putting everybody's shopping carts away. So have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.